Greetings. Welcome to Speak Nerd and Enter.
And we're done. We're out.
Okay. What do you think? How was that?
It's all right.
Yeah, I liked it. I thought it was good. We covered a lot of ground.
Yeah.
Okay. Is there anything else you want to talk about?
Why is there so
Sorry
much
for the
hate in the
hard
world?
out on that one. I just figured since
There's
it
too
was
much hate in
almost
the
an
world.
hour, I figured,
Yeah, we're almost an hour. No, I think that one was good.
Yeah, it's all right.
Okay.
Yeah.
Have you guys seen any of the new models that have come out or any of that stuff?
Excuse me.
Okay.
Yeah, I've been following the Horus Heresy models and stuff. Like, they all look amazing, and it really makes me want to just jump into Horus Heresy. But I got so many figures I already haven't painted, and so many games I'm already not playing. You know what I'm saying? I got 40K armies that I'm putting together and playing, and
See, that's one of the
it's
reasons.
going to happen one of these days, because the chance to take these modern figures and do the old-fashioned Mark Marines with the new, cool hotness looking, like, that's going to happen.
Mark Marines.
Yeah, man. How could I not? How could I not?
What Primark are they from? That's what I want to know. I bet you they are actually one of the only surviving strains from one of those two Primarchs that was destroyed utterly by the Emperor because they did something so egregious
That's right.
that even the traitor Marines won't talk about them. That would be Mark, and the other one would probably, who would the other one be? It'd probably be me, to be honest. It'd probably end up being me.
You just need to take a model and you need to put Mark's head on it. So you need to sculpt Mark's head.
Oh, that model would be so awesome.
It should take
I bet you'd win like second place.
Which Primarch would I use for Mark's model? I wonder. Which one would I use for that?
I don't know. But see, the one thing I liked about when we were playing Rogue Trader, all the lines in the map hadn't been colored in. There was so much that was just, oh, this is cool, and like the seeds were there, but over the last 40 years, they've colored in all the lines. We know exactly who all the chapters are and the thing and the history of everything. Because remember, it used to be like, this dude came along and 10 people threw themselves in front of laser bolts to save the Emperor.
That's right.
So many heroes.
We were joking about that. Everybody queuing up to go up there and throw themselves
Look
in
out,
front of the
sir!
Emperor.
Yeah. And now there's a freaking rule for it. Yeah.
Calling 40.
Now serving.
40.
That's right. Some dreadnought. Some dreadnought lumbering up there.
Pulling the bodies away.
The
Emperor
dead bards.
The Emperor and his coterie up there doing, and it was everybody's. Remember, initially, it's like we were talking about with the originality. It became everybody's motivation. Everyone. It was originally in Astartes or something. Was it? Or was it? It was in Astartes. It was originally in Astartes. Then it became like also a guardsman, and all these.
Yeah.
It's like, come on, man. Everybody had to throw themselves in front of him.
Some sort of squat throwing himself out there.
Squat's throwing himself. Got one on his shoulders so that he can,
Oh, man. Yeah, and the problem is that they filled in the lines. When you fill in the lines, you can't then, it becomes so much harder to go back and change it.
Right, but they're still doing that because they're retconning all of the Necrons and they're doing it less with the Marines because that's their bread and butter. But look how much like Necrons have changed.
I know.
Of course of editions.
And when they do that, it comes across. It kind of, I don't know. For me, it takes me out of it when they do that.
Yeah.
Because it kind of ruins it, as opposed to like what you were saying, Mark, where you just kind of leave it nebulous. You leave it as a mystery.
Right.
And
that's again going back to this John Wick thing. They're giving us the seeds, but they're not spelling it all out. They don't tell us why all these chicks have tattoos, or they don't tell us what's the deal with the gold coins, and they don't tell. They're like, here it is, do what you want with it.
I told Helena, I think she was asking me about that. She was saying something about backstory and wanting to know backstory on some character or something. And I said, don't you think it's better when you don't? Don't you think it's actually better when you don't have that? I feel like sometimes you're either going to fall short or you're going to feel like it's patronizing. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
if someone's out there, man, wouldn't it be great if you had someone out there who was on this vengeance spree, right? And you never found out why. Never.
Right.
You know, does it really matter? Do you really need to know they killed fill in the blank and now someone's got to pay, right?
Yeah.
Everyone's there for the vengeance spree. Wouldn't it be such a cool thing, such a novel idea to never find out,
Yeah.
out why they were doing it, you know?
Right. Well, I mean, that's the same thing with like Star Wars, right? That cantina scene in the first Star Wars where you saw all these wacky aliens, you're like, wow, that was really cool. And fast forward a couple of years, every single character in there has a action figure. Every single character in there has a backstory, there's something written about them. We know they all have a name. We know who they all are. So in Star Wars, they were just random aliens in an alien bar, and you're like, this universe is wacky. And they filled in all the lines, like they colored in all of the things, and like to some extent that's cool, but to another extent, it's like, okay, can't we just have like some mystery in here? Can't we have, again, look what they did with Boba Fett. He was badass, and now he's
Just
maybe
Boba Fett.
not so
Boba Fett,
badass,
that's a
right?
bad
From the
example.
book of Boba Fett. No, that's a perfect example.
No, because
Boba Fett was
sucked
badass.
from the beginning.
He was great. He was the
Boba Fett
best ever.
Boba Fett was the worst.
You shut your mouth.
He was awful. And I kept wanting him to be good.
Yeah,
I kept wanting him to be good, and then Lucasfilm would slap me right in the mouth.
I know.
That here he's going to be eaten by a sand octopus, and he's never going to, he fires Luke's there with a lightsaber, and he tries to tie him up with his little cable, wraps around him, and all Luke has to do is burn.
He's like, wait, I had a flamethrower? What?
Yeah, and then the blind guy hits him in the back with a stick, and he goes flying into the side of Jabba's boat, and then gets eaten by the sand octopus. That is a ridiculous villain. That is someone who didn't deserve.
I don't know if this is true, but I saw this quote from George Lucas where he's talking about like Darth Maul, and he was talking about like Darth Maul was so cool I had to kill him off because otherwise people would be focused on him and not on the trade dispute. And I'm like, there's your problem right there.
Yeah.
The real villain, the trade dispute.
The trade dispute with the space Japanese.
We'll put an on switch for the jetpack external where he
I know,
couldn't reach
on
it
the
anyway.
back.
Yeah.
Yeah, on the
It
back
wasn't an
of
on
it.
switch. It was a malfunction because he got hit by the thing. It was a known
No.
defect.
There's a
I
button
can
and it's
picture-
green and it said go.
I can picture the armorer giving him that. This is your rising phoenix. Don't ever get hit in the back.
Danger, no step.
Couldn't you have put that someplace else or something? No, that was the only place. That's it. Take it or leave it. Stupid Boba Fett. By the way, I saw Icons Uncovered, a series on Hulu about the making of Star Wars, and it's not like the other stuff. This is the one that kind of gets into the dirty, nitty-gritty stuff about the storytelling and all that. A lot of stuff I had no idea.
Oh yeah.
And a lot of them are sitting there saying Lucas was really good with the overall vision for the story,
Right.
but they said he's awful with script. So
Yeah.
the first script he came up with, they were like, "Oh no."
Well, no, it got, like the original Star Wars was basically saved in the editing room.
Right?
You know,
Yeah, they
is,
go
is
into
what
that.
I've heard. But Lucas was like, I don't want to see any zippers or buttons. He was like, I want this lived-in universe, and he wanted something kind of timeless. And so he's telling the costume people, and there's a reason you don't see a lot of that stuff, and it works. You know what I mean? Like a lot of those uniforms
Well,
and stuff,
that
you're like,
stuff
they're so
does.
cool.
That stuff does, but like you said, it was saved in the editing. They showed
Yeah.
some of the scenes that were supposed to be in the movie.
Mm.
Stuff I hadn't seen before, like Luke showing up at the youth's, hangout, which is how he described it.
Tashi Station, yeah.
Yeah, he goes in there. He's got like this little cap on or something.
Yeah,
and he's
yeah.
like,
I've
hey,
seen- I've seen
everybody, how you
stills,
doing,
yeah.
man?" And I was like, oh, that's awful.
Right. Yeah, exactly. What it could have been, who knows,
It was so bad, as a matter of fact, that way that the guy who was editing it in England thought it was like a space comedy. And so he was cutting it. He was cutting it like that. And his wife is the one who actually saved it. She's the one who took it and said, well, no, it shouldn't be shot this way. It should be this way. She's the one who came up with the Force. They were going to have Kenobi on the moon, Yavin, moon of Yavin, Yavin 4. They were going to have him down there talking to Luke over the communicator. And she was the one who was saying, doesn't work. We need to kill him off, and then you can have him talking to him through the Force, that kind of thing. And Brian De Palma, when he showed them the rough cut, Brian De Palma came out and said, you got to get rid of that Force thing. That doesn't work. That's horrible. And so, but he ended up coming back and cutting or rewriting the crawl at the beginning. Yeah. Because they said the crawl at the beginning was written awfully. It was awful. Okay. That the way Lucas wrote it was like, it wasn't helpful. It just confusing. It was just not good. So they had a lot of really cool stuff in there that I didn't know about that. That's a really good series.
And again, Magic Pixie Dust. For whatever reason, Star Wars got it and still has it despite their best efforts.
Well, I'll tell you what the Pixie Dust was for me. When you see that, when I saw the first ship come by, okay, but when I saw that Star Destroyer come across, and it just kept going, and kept
huge.
Going, and I was like, oh my goodness, that's amazing. And then when you saw Vader show up, right?
Well, even the stormtroopers just busting into the ship and that whole shootout. That was awesome.
You're all about those guys. I know
those guys are awesome.
They are horrible. Why do you like all of the ones who look kind of cool but they suck? Why do you like them? You're amazing to me, Mark. You, in real life, you would hate them. If you were the supervisor you're the commander of the stormtroopers, you would be laying into their asses at every chance because they suck so bad.
They suck so bad, I sent them in first into certain death, the hands of the rebels.
Why can't you guys shoot? Why can't you hear
Penal Battalion 01, you're up first. Breach the door.
Why are you getting beat up by a chick who's, there's two of you there, she slaps you in the helmet and you fall down. There's so much that you would be laying into them for just sucking. And then Boba Fett, you hire this guy, you're like, okay, that's the one we want. Get him out there. Okay, how'd it go? Well, he got eaten by a sand octopus.
No, but first he was smart enough to go out with the garbage and find the hidden Millennium Falcon.
There's one brilliant idea.
The key there is he went out and hid in the garbage. He should have stayed there. That's what he should have done. He should have stayed in the garbage. No, all he did was fly to Bespin. All he did was fly to Bespin and tell Vader he's showing up.
And then he stood there looking all cool with his blaster next to Vader, who's also
as
looking all
Vader's
cool.
blocking the blaster bolts, looking cool.
Yeah.
Boba Fett's
all behind him, like,
where's my chance to come in and try to look menacing?
Boba Fett was in that scene.
Yeah, he stood behind Vader like a waiter.
I'm gonna have to go. I mean, all these years I've watched that thing, I can't recall that that's actually a thing. I gotta go look at that.
Yeah, Boba Fett's in there doing nothing, so you don't pay any attention.
He's looking cool.
The only thing he does is say he's no use to me dead.
That's right. And then he goes. Like, then he goes to Jabba's palace, and he's like touching that girl's chin, like, "Hey, baby, what's up?
Yeah,
I'm really, really good looking under this.
Yeah.
Get together later."
Boba Fett's awful. Django's cool. Django did things.
Django's a.
Django did stuff. His size.
They should have put him back in chains. Wait, wrong movie.
He should have used. Matter of fact, he should have used Boba as like a thrown improvised weapon when he was fighting Kenobi. That's what he should have done. As soon as he lost his other blaster, he should have taken him and thrown him at Kenobi, and then shot them both with his concussive mine on the landing platform. That's what he should have done. Boba Fett is awful. Awful character. Just like, who else disappointed me? Was actually, well, I can't say on the same level as Boba Fett, but Kersantin.
This would be a podcast episode. Who's disappointed Sean?
In Star Wars, the most. Which character in Star Wars disappointed
Well, they tried to make him so cool.
Yeah,
You could tell he's like the cool Chewbacca.
yeah. And when he was doing some cool stuff at first. I didn't agree with his tactic of I'm going to kill Boba Fett by just showing up and bum rushing everybody, but whatever. I mean
Let's not even talk about the fact that how he got into the dude's bedroom.
well, he got in there because he had the goofy crew from
the Power Rangers crew.
I was actually Power Rangers actually would have been more effective. I was trying to think of the other one, like the Pokemon bad guys, But he got in because of that. That's all he had. I can't imagine any one of them stopping him.
Well, come on, those Gamorrean guards come highly recommended.
I felt bad for them. The only ones who actually had any sort of honor, or, any of that, and they get thrown off a cliff.
Yeah.
That was awful. Poor Gamorreans. They're just there like what's his face from Star Trek, from the Klingon.
Red shirt.
They're just there to get beat up,
Oh, Worf, yeah.
Yeah, Worf. Yeah, that's my thing. Any character who's there to show how strong somebody else is, they're getting Worfed. That's what they're doing. But Chrysanthemum disappointed me. Yeah. It's a cool looking character. And he actually did some stuff. He actually did tear the arm off a couple of those dudes in that bar. But did you see any of that, Kelly? The Boba Fett thing?
No.
Of course not. We'll have to.
No, man. After Star Wars went off the rail, right? I mean, and really for me, it really died when they did, what was it, episodes 1, 2, and 3, right? The prequel bits. And after that, I just had a hard time connecting with it. Because after something disappoints me that badly, I have a real hard time finding any reason to invest in any other little bit that they come out with.
Okay, so have you seen the latest 3 with Rey and Finn and?
Yeah, I saw those.
Yeah, that's what he's talking about.
Yeah,
I was talking about the prequels.
Right, and I Rogue One, and then there was another one after that. And then the latest set that they came out with that then they're disavowing all sort of meaning for and things like that. Rogue One was the only one that they've come out with since the original trilogy that I thought was any damn good.
You didn't like Revenge of the Sith at all?
No.
That was in the original trilogy, wasn't it?
No. He sent no, Revenge of the Sith, not Return of the Jedi. Yeah.
I mean, there were bits of each of the movies that I thought was fine, but there wasn't enough in any one of the movies that I felt so invested in that it carried the whole thing. I think where you were talking about in the originals, where there were so many people that saved Lucas's ass from doing something stupid, those people up and quit by the time he started making other things.
Well, or he got so big and popular and powerful within Hollywood, who's going to say no to George Lucas or James Cameron? He's like, you sure you want to do this? This is dumb. Who's going to say that to George Lucas?
Well, the thing that carried it for me in the prequels is Darth Maul, the Battle of Geonosis, and Yoda's fight with Dooku. And then in the third one, Darth Sidious. Darth Sidious carried that one for me because I loved the exploration of his character and his manipulation.
But those were minor bits to the overall whole.
They were, but I'm saying that's what carried it for me. I won't watch the Phantom Menace except for the parts where Darth Maul shows up.
Right. Here's what I'll say: the prequels get worse the further I get away from them coming out. In the same way that the second 2 Matrix movies get worse the further I get away from them coming out. Like we all went and saw them. We're like, wow, that was really cool. And then you have time to think about it. You're like, well, that was really, really dumb. You know what I mean? And so cool parts, absolutely. Lightsaber fights were cool. This action scene was cool. That aspect was neat, but it doesn't overcome the whole thing. That on the whole, that movie gets worse the older it is.
And then
I think.
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
The reason I like Star Wars so much, the overall universe, is because I like playing in that universe.
Mm-hmm.
Lucas came up with a great sandbox, but he is awful at maintaining it, So he'll have some really cool looking stuff, really good backstory stuff and all that. And you'll have other people who come in and actually put really cool things in there, like the Knights of the Old Republic stuff, the things with Malgus and all that. Those are amazing. And I think that is what keeps me so attached to it. If it was just Lucas on his own, I don't know if I would have been such a super fan. It was the Force, the lightsabers, and the Jedi Sith thing.
Yeah,
That's the thing to do.
I like what the environment, like you said, the sandbox that was created, right? So those original movies, those were great. Knights of the Old Republic was fantastic. Love it. You know, Rogue One was great. And yeah, there are pockets. You said there were pockets like the fights between so and so. Those are great, but it all became it's like what I was trying to bring up when we were talking about pacing in a story. It all becomes very corporate. They're starting to tick boxes on what needs to be there, especially when it got picked up by Disney. It all became that. And then it's just I don't know. I lost interest because it loses the grittiness of what made it what it was. It's like 40K today versus Rogue Trader. Rogue Trader was this dark universe that was so interesting. And then, like you say, they've colored in all the areas, and it removes sort of my interest in just exploring a space in my own mind.
Yeah.
Well, but I like, and I know this sounds weird coming from me because I know everybody pegs me with hating everything, but I like the Horus Heresy stuff. I like the Indomitus Crusade stuff, and I like the Star Wars stuff because those bits that are good, the sandbox, is enough to overcome all the others. I guess it's because the story potential for each of those is so good that it's so free, so vast, so immersive, and all of that, that it's enough to overcome the bad parts. Kind of like real life. Real life is filled with a lot of crap, but the sandbox is great.
Well, I can give you, because I remember you guys having the debate when you were doing the Star Wars game. There was the debate about, well, that's kind of outside the bounds of the rules, but at the same time, from your perspective, you're trying to drive just this sort of experience with this universe. If the rule is going to get in the way of me telling a story, then we're going to abandon the rule where it's not necessary, because the interest of the story is what's paramount, not simply staying within the confines of what somebody else created, which I think is also the idea with role-playing game modules. I mean, you got the thing, and sure, you can run through it once and get your feet wet, but then abandon it, get rid of it, change it up a little bit, use it as a basis for a new thought and go in a new direction. I just find with the Star Wars shit that they worked very hard to kill a lot of it.
You talking about the corporate side?
Yeah, they worked very hard to kill a lot of it. They couldn't get any consistency going on. I just decided to.
But see, I like. Have you seen you haven't seen the Clone Wars stuff or any of that?
Was that the animated series or what?
Yeah,
what was
the animated one.
I watched some of the animated thing, and I thought some of that was pretty good.
Yeah, see, I like a lot of the stuff that, not all of it, but I like a lot of the stuff that Kevin Feige has done. Yeah. Or not Kevin Feige. What's his face? Can't remember his name. The one who did the Star Wars animated stuff. He's got a good feel for it, and I like a lot of the things he's done. He's done some amazing things. His arc have you seen the ending arc for the Clone Wars, Kelly?
No.
That was amazing. It was like a 3-episode part. You really don't need to see anything else. Ahsoka is his Anakin's Padawan, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's the ending arc for her, and it's great. Those 3 episodes are amazing, and I love them for so many reasons. I would love you to see those because that is great. That's an example of what I'm talking about. You got the episodes that have Jar Jar, and they got Padme and all that, and those are back there, right? But then you got Ahsoka's up here, which is just amazing, and that makes up for it for me. You also have. Why can't I remember anybody's name? What's his face? Iron Man, the one who did the Mandalorian.
Yeah, I know who you're talking about. I'm drawing a blank on his name, but I can see his face. Happy.
Yeah, Happy. Yeah, Happy. We'll call him Happy from now on. His work with Mandalorian and Star Wars and all, and him working together with what's his face? I can't remember either of their names.
I know.
I like a lot of the stuff they did. They've done some really cool stuff. Not all of it's great. There's Mandalorian episodes in between, because you haven't seen The Mandalorian, I'm guessing as well.
That's right.
The Mandalorian scenes in between the first 3 episodes and the last 2 are kind of on the spectrum. It's okay, it's all right. But those are enough for me to be like, I kind of dig that story. Even the Boba Fett one, the 2 episodes where they didn't have Boba Fett in it, those were the best.
So
ones.
good.
Yeah, because they were great, man. They were great because they were done by the same guy who did Clone Wars. So there's some guys who are doing some really good stuff in there, and I love that when you play in the sandbox right. I love that stuff, and I love the fact that they're willing to take a swing, and do all these things, and some of them hit, some of them don't. Sure. I think that's great, So, yeah, I like. That's the reason I like that stuff. I really do. Oh, the other movie I wanted to bring up for action stuff is The Raid. The Raid, I think The Raid did it right from. I think that was before John Wick, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, that was the one, and I've said it before. They don't get enough credit for what they did.
Well, the Raid and the Judge Dredd movie are basically the same story.
Yeah, they are,
and they're two different settings. One is sci-fi, but that Carl Urban Judge Dredd it's a sleeper hit. That is a great movie. Every bit, but in the Raid they're doing the martial arts, and in the other one it's all like the cool guns and the Judge Dredd attitude. But they're the same story. That's what I mean. Like, the story doesn't have to be amazing. You know what I mean? These are two movies that took the same story and did it really, really well.
Yeah.
The Stallone Judge Dredd?
What's that?
No. There was one with Carl Urban that was done in mid 2000, 2010 maybe. Have you not seen that one for real? Oh, it's called Dredd. It is amazing. It's got Cersei from Game of Thrones.
Yep.
She's in it as like the bad guy, and oh man, it's good. It is 2 thumbs up. Like, seriously, Dredd came out in 2012.
I'll add it to the list. I've got John
and Carl
Wick
Urban
and
never
Dredd.
takes his helmet off. He's Judge Dredd, and he leaves his helmet on the whole.
That was the thing because I'll be honest, when I first saw it, I had seen The Raid not too long before it, and so it kind of hit me like, I feel like I've already seen this, but taking myself out of it and my bias, I think the movie was done really well, and I liked the fact that he never took his helmet off. That bugged the hell out of me with the Stallone.
With Stallone, yeah, and it's beautifully shot. Like, the cinematography in it is amazing. I love that final shot. I mean, no spoilers, but I mean, like, pay attention to the cinematography. It's really, really well done.
That was one of those I wish they had done more of. I think there's a lot more they could have done.
There's talk of a Dredd show, like a series, with Carl Urban in it. He has consistently on many occasions said I'd be down, right? Because he's a fan and whatnot. It's just one of those things like Hollywood. They got to figure that shit out and blah, blah, blah.
And by the way, Kelly, don't see no.
I wasn't going to.
That was not my house. Whose house has got people speeding up the street?
That's me.
Kelly's at you.
Yeah. No, I wasn't going to see Nope. I saw the previews for that, and I was like, this just looks like an M. Night Shyamalan movie, and I just don't.
That's exactly what it felt like. Didn't it, Mark?
Yeah. No, it did. It did.
Mark will say he liked it. Mark didn't.
No, like, I get the feeling M. Night Shyamalan grew up watching The Usual Suspects, right? Because that was basically, he's like, oh, that was great, and he's tried to remake that movie and everything that he does.
Yeah, this one I was disappointed in this. Another
Don't
one.
Listen to him. It was a good time.
I liked whatever. Yeah, that was not a good time. The actors were great. I love the actors. That's another one. I like the actors. I like their performances and them getting into it. It's just the storytelling.
The thing I really didn't like was how the older cinematographer runs out there and gets eaten by the big alien or whatever. I'm like, that didn't make any sense. You had the shot of a lifetime. What are you trying to get? You know what I mean? Like, that was one of those things, like, people don't.
That whole impossible shot thing it never landed with me. I know what he was going for. And all that. I know, by the way, it was funny. I heard, I was wondering if, I feel bad about it in retrospect. When the monkey was killing people, There's two storylines going on there, Kelly. This is a flashback thing where they're talking about a monkey on set on this TV show.
Like a sitcom, yeah.
Yeah, it's an old like 80s sitcom, right? And they have a monkey, and that's the premise of the show, right?
Mhm.
I forget
Yeah.
the name of it, Mr. something or whatever,
Yeah.
right? And so they're doing a birthday party, and they come over and they got a bunch of balloons, big reveal. They got balloons in a box, happy birthday, and all that. And one of the balloons pops. And this is on the set, right? And so as soon as it pops, the monkey goes bananas and just starts killing, right? And so they do flashbacks because one of the actors there, this kid, the one from Walking Dead, I can't remember his
The
name.
Asian Glenn from The Walking Dead.
Yeah,
Oh, okay.
yeah. So a kid version of him is one of the stars of the show, and he's the only one who's left alive, and in the theater at the end. I guess everybody else ran away or died or something, but he's the only one alive at the end. He's under a table, and the monkey's beating the hell out of this chick and killing her, and then the father character comes in and the monkey sees him, and then another balloon pops and the monkey goes after him and kills him and all this. And it's meant to be this kind of tugging at your heartstrings, horrible, how could this happen? Why are we so obsessed with, that kind of thing, right? But I know it's heavy-handed, and I know that's what he's going for.
Mhm.
So I'm not going to give in to that. I'm not
That's
doing
right.
that. Instead, I start cheering the monkey on. I started saying, get her, kill her. She's still moving, get her. Right? And then the father comes down and is like, get him. He's getting away, get him. Yeah, right. And I saw your wife out of the corner of my eye at one point, looking over at me, what I think was dismay or shock or something. And I didn't know if she understood what I was doing, or if she thought I was honestly cheering on, the murder of all these folks. And then at the end, the monkey comes up and sees the kid under the table, and he goes over. And instead of attacking the kid, he comes up and very gently puts his, because they had this thing in the show where he puts his fist out and they do a fist bump, right? So the monkey comes over and he does this like gentle, like he's going to do a fist bump to him. And he goes to reach out to the monkey to do the same thing. And it's supposed to be this like touching, the monkey's calmed down. He's not really evil. He was just scared, that kind of thing. And then the monkey gets shot in the head, right? And so I forget, I said something like, you shot the wrong one, the kid's under the table, things like that. And so I just didn't know if that came across I'm sure it came across the wrong way, but I didn't know.
Well, the monkey actually didn't kill the little girl because she was at the
killed the
circus
mother.
thing at the end. Yeah.
Yeah, the mother is the one who was on the floor and
No, I thought it was the little girl that was on the.
No, I thought that was the mother because he went over and beat her a number of times and all that. I thought that was her that died, and it doesn't matter.
I don't know. We may never find out because we're not going to watch it again. So
no.
I just like that
you may never know.
I'll watch that scene again.
Yeah. Fast forward.
I just like that you're very consistent with spouses, Sean. That you always seem to land in a way.
I was doing that more for Mark because I knew Mark would understand what I was doing.
Yeah.
And then I saw her out of the corner of my eye, and I thought, oh crap, that's right, she's here.
So here's the thing, like, I'm very proud of my wife because she started watching Obi-Wan, and like we'll come home and I'm doing something like, oh, you want to throw something on the TV? And she's like, yeah, what do you want to watch? I'm like, oh, you want to finish Obi-Wan? And she's like, no, I really don't, because she saw a couple of episodes and saw how stupid they were, and has heard us talk about it. And I was like, no, don't let me turn you out. Like, if you want to watch it, I would love to have you experience it and see what you honestly think. But she's been like, no, I don't think so. Like, we started watching that Fresh Prince reboot on Peacock. And like it was, I'm down with the nostalgia. And we started watching it and it got worse and worse and worse. And finally we were both just like, yeah, no, I've got better things to do with my time than watch that show. And she's come to that conclusion with Obi-Wan, like on her own and whatnot. So I'm pleased so far with her
discerning taste.
nature in choices. Now, there's a lot of stuff she hasn't seen. We're in the middle of Unforgiven right now because she hadn't seen that. She'd never really seen a Western, so I showed her Young Guns was the first one, and then we did Tombstone, and now we're doing Unforgiven. So, like, those are three, I think. Like, Young Guns is your introduction to a Western in a Hollywood setting. You know, I don't think you start with Tombstone. You start with something a little more like popcorn
You
fare.
don't think so? I think Tombstone's
I'd start with the Good, the Bad, and the Ugly.
Like I
Or,
said, that's
like,
the other one. Those four, I think, are really
Yeah.
cover the genre.
Yeah,
Good, the Bad,
of
and the Ugly. I
Westerns.
think is too long and in depth for someone who's not into westerns.
Well,
I
then
think
start
you
with the
gotta-
other spaghetti westerns, but I would definitely
Yeah.
start with a Clint Eastwood.
See, I think Tombstone's a great one to start with.
That's
'Cause you got
fine.
action. You got action right off the bat, and you got Val Kilmer.
Well, see, here's the thing, though. Like, she's 10 years younger than me, and I guess there was some rapper dude in the 90s who used dialogue from Young Guns, like regulators, let's regulate. It was in one of his songs, like a rap song or something like that. And she was very familiar with that song. And so when we came up to that part in the movie, she was like, oh my God, I've heard, and so she
What a weird,
immediately had a
random
I
set of
know, but
coincidences.
she immediately it's like the "Oh Me So Horny" line from God, what was that movie? Was it
Full Metal Jacket.
Full Metal Jacket,
Yeah.
right? That ended up in some rap song or whatever. Because I remember
No.
like, seeing that, and then it was
Yes.
volleyball practice at high school, and this girl was like, "Oh, me so horny." I'm like, "Did you see Full Metal Jacket?" What I mean, I was like, because that's where the line is from. But it
Yeah,
turns
that
out
wouldn't
it was
fly
a song.
today.
I know,
Yeah.
right? But
Yeah.
so anyway, she
Didn't
really
really
enjoyed
fly
that
back
movie
then
because of the weird, awkward connection she had to some '90s R&B hip hop. So that went over
We have to-
well. Like I said, Tombstone was great, and like I said, we're in the middle of Forgiven right now. So
We have to
Or
think of the worst possible movies for her to watch. The most damaging movies I can think of for her to watch. What would be awful?
Obi-Wan.
No, I
Oh
mean,
God,
like,
what are
truly-
some of the worst movies?
I mean, like truly terrifying or horrid, and
The Poughkeepsie tapes. That's horrifying.
the Poughkeepsie tapes.
Yeah, it's based on it's not a true story, right? So the story is that they go to clean out, like this person, they find this house that has a bunch of videotapes in it, and it turns out that this is the house that a serial killer had, and it's just his tapes of him killing people.
Oh, yeah, that would be awful.
Yeah, it's very disturbing.
It sounds it. I was thinking more along the lines of like Seven.
Well,
Yeah,
I'll step it back then.
Yeah,
no, I thought you meant like
traumatized.
terrible movies. So
Yeah.
like you hope they're going to be.
No,
good.
I meant like
Not
terrible, like psychologically.
damaging movies.
They damage you, that kind of thing. Yeah. I remember there was one with the kid from Silver Spoons. He played a kid, and his dad was a boxer, and his dad died. And I remember that wrecked me, but I can't remember what that movie was.
Well, like I said, growing up, I knew as a kid, intellectually, I was like, it cost like $1 million to make a movie back in the 70s or whatever. And I used to think like, oh my God, it didn't matter what movie you went to go see because I knew they cost so much money that I was like, none of them are going to be bad. They wouldn't spend $1 million to make a bad movie. Right. And so that's how naive I was back as a young moviegoer. Because I guess every movie I saw, I just really liked. And then I remember going to the theater and seeing the first movie that I was like, what the was that? That was terrible. I was like, oh my God, they stole my money. I remember the first movie that I saw that
Have
was
you ever
so
walked
bad.
out of a movie?
A couple of them, yeah.
One.
Really?
Kelly,
What'd
what
you
was
walk
that one
out
you
of?
wanted to walk out of? Well, you and I went and saw something, and it was
So
so
it was at
terrible.
Springfield Mall, and we saw it was like one of those Warren Beatty things or something, right? And we walked out of that. Or no,
Was
we
it-
finished the movie,
No,
but then we snuck in.
No, you wanted to leave because it was so bad, and I was like, well, let's just go walk into another one.
Yeah, we
And
ended.
you didn't want to do it because that would have been dishonest.
Right, we ended up in Godzilla is what we ended up in.
Not a great
The-
choice, but
It was a bad movie day.
yeah, it was. It was.
It had good music. The Godzilla.
Bullworth was the movie.
Was it Bullworth? Okay,
Bullworth.
maybe. I don't remember, but
Yeah.
The one I walked out of was Jeff Speakman. Do you remember him? Yeah.
The Perfect Weapon, of course. Yeah.
Yeah, I walked out of that one. I was watching it in Marlow Heights, and I figured, because it's a martial arts movie. I'm like, oh, all
Yeah,
right. And it was at the
yeah.
Van Damme time and all that
Uh-huh.
stuff. I figured, well, that's got to be pretty good. All right, I know what I'm getting with that, and I didn't. I didn't know what I was getting. That was
Yeah.
awful. That was
Yeah.
so bad. I actually got up and left.
Yeah.
No Holds
was-
Barred was awful too. Do you remember that one? That was Hulk Hogan, and I forget what the other actor. No Holds Barred. It was so bad. It was
Hulk
so
Hogan.
awful. I think we saw that with Paul.
Oh, there we go. The first movie I saw in a theater that I felt was so bad was 1985's DEFCON 4.
I
It was
remember
like,
DEFCON
it was like
4.
some astronauts are up in like the space station, and they end up, there's like an apocalypse thing, or they end up coming down to Earth, and there's like cannibals running around, and this, but it was just so like you see like this big space station and like a skeleton in a spacesuit half buried in a sand dune, and you're like, oh, this looks cool, and I went and saw it, and it was so awful. I was like, oh my god, they took my money. This is so bad, so awful, so bad. And I'm ashamed to admit that apparently I was 15 years old when I figured this out. I thought I was younger.
Oh, that's awful. One of the best ones, let's see, what are the best ones I've seen? Ferris Bueller's Day Off, which, by the way, holds up amazingly well today.
Mm-hmm.
I've seen even people who see it today for the first time love that movie. I should say it's interesting. You'll see a couple different people. You'll see those who love it and love Ferris and that sort of thing, but you'll have the other group of people is those who think Ferris is just a jerk, and mainly because they identify with Jenny, the sister. They're like, oh, Ferris, yeah, I identify with her. I'd get caught. Ferris is a jerk, and all that because he could get away with it, right?
Yeah.
But the movie still holds up. Joe versus the Volcano. I like that one.
Good movie.
And did you like that one, Kelly?
It's my favorite movie of all time.
Seriously.
No, seriously. I like that
Yeah.
movie.
I like that one a lot. I do. Did you ever see that, Mark?
Yeah, I've been a long time ago, but yeah.
See, I don't think for Mark it would land the same way as it did for me. But my favorite scene, I'll never forget, was the scene of him on the luggage,
Mm-hmm.
and the moon comes up, and he just, it's like he has that epiphany, and he says,
Sure,
"Thank
yeah.
you for my
Yeah.
life. Thank you for." I love that part. It spoke to me. Love that. I know people look at that movie and like, I don't like it, and all that. That I think was great. I think they're missing the point with it.
I think people misjudge movies based on the actor sometimes. I think Tom Hanks at that time had established himself as a pretty good comedic actor, and then you go into that movie and you're expecting something like you saw Tom Hanks in Saving Private Ryan. And I remember when Mark and I went to go see that, I had no knowledge of what Saving Private Ryan was, and then you
really?
get hit.
Wow.
Yeah, so you get hit with that first 20 minutes, and I remember I leaned over to Mark and I said, "This is not funny."
Right. Well, you're expecting. I was expecting like this World War II. We're gonna go
Yeah.
defeat the Nazis and rah rah rah. And that first 20 minutes, you're like, holy shit, this is not any war movie I've ever seen in my whole life.
Right.
It's not Commando covered in like the what is it, the stick he'd use to draw camo on his face, running around with his endless belt fed. None of
Yeah.
that. You're
Now,
like, whoa.
Mark has a way of selling people on movies, right? It's just like you'll just go along with it because Mark seems excited about it. It's like Blame It on Rio. It's a James
Yeah,
Bond
right.
movie. You're like, okay,
That was Mike Caravan.
That
Mike
was
Caravan was
that
like,
was
it's a
Mike.
spy movie.
was that Mike?
That was
Mike
Mike,
Caravan.
so that he could convince Mark's mother to take us to it.
Right.
That-
That's what that was.
That
Yeah,
was
that was
awful.
just a happy accident. Blame it on Rio.
Yep.
Oh
Yeah.
my god. Well, see, and like I was on this kick at Blockbuster for months, where every movie I picked was just shitty, like they just sucked. This looks pretty good on me, and it would suck. And then I hit Reservoir Dogs, and that was the end of my terrible streak. Like I got Reservoir Dogs, and like, holy shit, that was a good movie.
I haven't seen
You know
that
what I
in
mean?
ages.
I know, but like I remember like
I remember
terrible
you being
movie after
excited
terrible
about that.
movie after terrible movie.
Yeah.
Because there's straight to video, all these crappy movies they're putting out was the heyday of blockbuster, kind of thing. And then Reservoir Dogs, I stumbled on that one, and I was like, holy crap, that's a great movie.
Yeah, I remember going to see Pulp Fiction with a buddy of mine, and he was doing the same thing as you, Kelly. He was thinking, "Oh, John Travolta, this should be him dancing. It looks like a spoof movie and that kind of thing." And he hadn't seen Quentin Tarantino and Reservoir Dogs, of course. And so when we got in there and did that, he did the same thing as you did, Kelly. He leaned over to me and said, "This isn't funny." Well, it is, but it's
I
not in the way
I
you
remember
thought.
seeing that with you and a couple other people on the way back from Games Day. We went up to Baltimore and did Games Day, and then like driving back, we stopped somewhere and saw Pulp Fiction. So.
Yeah, Pulp Fiction was another one. That was another really good one.
That
I
one
don't
gets
think-
better for me over time. Like I don't think I walked out of there going, "Yeah, that was awesome." Like it was fine, but it's Quentin Tarantino, so it's all in different orders. You need to think about it, and you're like, huh?
I think
See,
that
I think
way
takes
better
people
over time.
aback.
I think when we talk about great movies that hold up, and I saw this yesterday, I watched it again, was The Thing. I watched that again,
Yep.
and I was like, that movie is just almost perfect start to finish.
Yeah.
Yes, yes, it is, and it's such a shame it was not recognized for the
Yeah.
masterpiece it was when it came
I know,
out.
and even the special effects they're all practical. They're
Right.
what is it? Dick Wolf, I think, who's a big name in special effects, like one of his early. Maybe it's not Dick Wolf. It's I'm forgetting the guy's name, but he's like huge in the special effects. And it was some of his best work, and it stands up. Even the parts where you can tell kind of what they were doing, you're like, it still works. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah, that was brilliant storytelling. That's another one of those with the great pacing and all that, and really good payoff if you're into the sci-fi part.
And
horror
Childs
part,
was in
all
Nope. That's right.
Oh, was
yes,
he really?
Childs. Yeah.
Yeah, a small part. He played one of the
Mhm.
guy's father, but he.
Yeah, I think the
not
thing
the
with
star, but
I think the thing with The Thing, and when we talk about pacing overall, it's like when we look at The Thing, you don't feel safe from the very beginning notes of the theme to the movie, right? I mean,
Kelly
just-
after he saw that would not let egg roll
that's right.
onto the
right.
couch with him for I forget how long.
It was a long
for
fucking
10
time.
years. 10 years he was. Well, it's like I'd go see Jaws, right, as a kid, and like you're afraid of Jaws, right? It's a like a horror movie. But
Not
then
me,
you come,
'cause
but
I
then you
don't
come
go in the
home.
water.
I know, but I come home and I'm still afraid. But of what? Like, there's not going to be a shark under my bed. There's not going to be a shark in my closet. There's not going to be a shark in the bathroom, right? But you're afraid because it's a horror movie and you've just seen
Yeah.
it and you're like, oh, I'm scared. But intellectually, I know there's nothing to be afraid of because I'm in Clinton, Maryland at my house, and the chances of a shark getting me are
Or maybe you were thinking about global warming and the
Maybe
fact
I was,
that in
and the rising,
a number of years you will have a shark in your front yard.
yeah. But I mean, I could just move.
So Jaws scared you?
Well, Jaws is a scary movie, right?
No,
You're
I'm saying
you're supposed
that
to be.
scared you, right?
Well, not scared me like, oh, I'm afraid of it. Like if you see Friday the 13th
Sounds like that's
and then
what
you're
you just
out
said.
camping in the woods, you're just like, oh my gosh, I'm now in the same position that these characters in this movie were in, and that was
Yeah.
scary. Now I'm alone in the woods and I heard a sound or whatever. Like that follows. But seeing Jaws, you're like, oh no, I'm not on the water. But
Yeah.
I'm afraid of something because I just came out of this scary movie. And so you have this sense of, oh man, I should be like a little scared of something, but the disconnect of there's nothing to be afraid of here because the shark can't get me was always stood out to me.
What scared you, Kelly? So Mark is a little girl when it comes to sharks.
The Exorcist scared me. Like I don't watch movies that have anything to do with the paranormal. I just don't. It's a known thing.
Really?
Yeah,
That bugs you?
I just won't do it.
Well, that was
to
the
this
thing about seeing Nope, right? Because we go in, we sit, and we're seeing the previews, and because Nope it's not a horror movie, but it's that kind of movie. All of the previews were basically for like supernatural and horror-y type movies, and some of those previews you were like, "Oh my god, those are freaky," because they do a really good job on all the previews of like setting it up, and like some of those are pretty startling. I'm like, I have no desire to see that movie, but the preview was certainly exhilarating.
Yeah, yeah, and I would say the Predator. Not that the movie was scary, right? I mean, there's definitely tense moments in the movie, but just the idea of a creature like the Predator being out there was that was. It's just something you got to deal with. To think that when you think of the idea of an existence of an alien race, what if there was something like that? Sweet mother of God, that would wipe you out in a heartbeat.
Apparently
if it
not.
bleeds, we can kill it.
See, that's one of those aliens that I feel bad for because it got warped. Everybody in every movie has to end up beating the Predator, and that should not be the way it goes.
That's right.
There is
on
no
any
way.
given Sunday, that's how it turns out. But on that one day, we're showing the ingenuity and the resourcefulness of the human animal.
If we were role-playing that game, and you're the Predator, and Arnold is trying to get away
Dutch,
from
man.
you.
He's covered himself in mud. What do you mean I can't see him?
Mark would have...
What do you mean I can't see him? I got like infrared vision.
Mark would have been like, this is BS, Sean. There's no possible way that you're going to tell me that I can't kill. He's going to kill me with a log.
I'm going to use my laser cannon. What do you mean he threw a spear at it?
I can go through.
You fell in the water and
all these planets.
Your stuff malfunctions. Like,
yeah.
What? It's not allowed to get wet. I went to a planet that's covered in 75% water. And my shit doesn't work because it got wet.
See, that's what I mean.
Rails, Sean. It's on rails.
Mark is absolutely making my point. There you go. Now you see why the Predator got ripped off. And then the whole thing in the second one with,
I am so glad that I'm still recording right now. This is going to come out in some form. I don't know.
But wasn't it in Predator 2 where didn't they get on his ship and he had one of the xenomorph skulls?
Yeah.
And I thought that would, like, in my mind when I saw that, I was like, wow, that even extended what it was in the first Predator movie of how badass he was, because he could kill that thing.
And then he gets beaten by Danny Glover.
Well, it's Danny Glover.
Not just Danny Glover, but Danny Glover.
No, it is very easy to underestimate Danny Glover. And so
way past the time.
He was too confident. He's like, there's no way this broken down old man can do this. He's getting too old for this shit.
He's got 2 more days and out.
That's right.
That was ridiculous. And just Predator needs justice. Predator actually should.
Well, Sean,
Predator
you're
is
in
what
luck
Boba Fett should have been.
We are days away from the movie Prey premiering on Hulu.
That's what I'm hoping. That's what I'm hoping. I told Helena. I said,
what is that movie? What does that show?
That's on Hulu. That's going to be Predator, but back in time where he's going after Native Americans.
Yeah, late 1700s, early 1800s.
Something like that. Yeah.
But basically, like when the Indians were running around.
Directed by Society Today.
No, it's directed.
We'll find
Who's
out.
doing it? It's a guy I actually like. I can't remember what else. But I heard he had done it, and I was like, that's that.
Right, and the movie, so far, it looks pretty good. And the reason it's on Hulu is because I guess parent company, blah blah blah, Paramount or whoever's putting it out, wants to drive Hulu subscriptions. Yeah. So it's not. It was made as a big budget. It's going to go to the movie theaters movie, but kind of the suits have all decided let's stick it on Hulu and we'll get people to sign up for Hulu just to see Prey, and maybe they'll stick around.
If the Native Americans win in any great number, I'm going to call bullshit. Okay.
See, that's what I'm saying. I'm hoping at the end, because they can't. The lead it's a female lead, so he's not going to kill her at the end of it. They're not going to do that. So my hope is that the Predator wins, but figures, I don't want to get rid of you because I need more who have your kind of gumption. You got a little something.
Where I think they're going to go with that rather than that. I think it'll be more like she fights hard enough. Okay, not where I was going to go with that initially, but who knows? No, I think it'll be more like she puts up enough of a fight to earn the respect of not being.
And then they help her fight the U.S. cavalry.
Yeah, they do like a Danny Glover. Where
how do you think they won the Battle of Little Bighorn? I mean, they had predators on their side.
Sure.
Or
Geronimo was actually a predator.
Yeah. Or it'll be a thing like, with deer, right? You have, bow hunting season or black powder season. So it could be the predator's not using his most effective weapons
You see him out there with
to
his
match
tag.
the technology level
He's
of
got a
his
few
prey.
tags for him. You can only take 4, just 4 Native Americans. That's all you got.
Maximum number you can get. Well,
That's
like in one of
right.
their previews, he's got like some kind of like arrow thing on his forearm that looks like it's maglev on his thing, like it shoots a single arrow or something. It was just a real quick scene from the trailer. So that's why I say something like that. Like maybe he's not running around with his shoulder-mounted laser weapon.
But they
and
showed him with
blasting
the little
people.
target thing on it.
I understand. Look, we haven't seen the movie. Don't come at me hard. Watch the damn movie.
When's it come out?
You know me. That's the only way. I
Like the 5th, 6th, 7th of August, like in the next week or so.
Okay.
Yeah, it's coming out in the next week or so with that. Hey, Kelly, let me ask you something since you haven't heard this discussion before. Do you think Aliens is a good movie? Not the first one, the second one. Do you think it's a good movie?
I think it is. I think it's an entertaining movie. I have problems with it, but I think overall it wins out. I think it tries too hard at the end. What I feel slapped in the face with at the end is sort of their political correctness message of like, women can win. And they did it. They did it even like at the end with the big fight with the Queen, right?
Yeah.
And I think that it loses me at that point. But otherwise, I thought the movie was rather entertaining, and I thought overall it was good.
See, I liked this is a big thing with Mark, and Mark knows he's wrong, and he's been trying to find a way to prove that he's right.
You're breaking up, Sean. You're breaking up. Did you drop this?
The movie for me was filled with tropes.
Sure.
Filled with it. And this is a James Cameron like standby. Every movie he does has the same characters in it. Mm-hmm. Anytime he's got military guys in there, they're going to be Vasquez, they're going to be, those kinds of characters, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
There's no nuance. The first Alien was like gritty and real. Ripley was a real character.
Sure.
There was real interaction and stuff with him. And the second one was like a comedic version of it. It was like they went in and just did a parody of what the first one would be. Here's the evil corporate guy who's going to betray you later on, who gives you the, hey, I'm really a good guy thing. Following exactly what we know to be true, Mark. The very first one to say that is always the bad guy, right?
Mm-hmm.
That whole thing, the Marine lieutenant who for some reason has only done 6 jumps simulated or whatever, and all that. Like, that's actually what they're going to do. Hey, let's send out the lieutenant who hasn't done anything before with this crack squad of 6 people.
Yeah, but they got Vasquez and Drake. They're going to be fine.
Yeah, but this is what they do with it. And you're right, Sean, is that they do bring in and they just present the stereotype and that kind of thing. What I was into that movie for and what I appreciated about it was that, aside from the end fight with the Queen where Ripley wins out of that whole thing, those aliens decimated those people. And I thought that part was just really, because again, it just feeds sort of the mythology of the aliens and how absolutely badass that they are. And I thought that was good. I think the little girl surviving, but that was also corrected in that next one, right? Where they land on that prison world, because didn't the little girl die?
Hates that one. I love that one. I like that one a lot. I really do. And I know a lot of people hate that one, but see, the thing is, it's like, I don't know. I guess you took away my
happy ending.
Yeah, that's exactly what it feels like. Yep. But see, that's the thing I didn't like about the second one was it felt like Aliens felt like you were beating me over the head with the fact that it was going to be this way. In the first one, it was more organic. It was that the people are dying. Ripley's the last one left. As a matter of fact, when they wrote the movie, Ripley didn't have an assigned sex. It was just a character. And then they, brought people on in casting and, you're going to be this one, you're going to be this one because you'll be the best for that part. I think that is great because it doesn't matter who the person is biologically or any of that. It's just organic to the character and the story. And that's what made that first one so awesome was her fight to the end and her unwillingness to give up.
The second one, we're not talking about the first one. The second one was amazing. And it was
second
one of my top
was contrived.
5, and it was awesome.
The second
second-
one was let's get everybody out of there, and Reese, who I do like because he's from the Terminator movie and all that, we're not going to kill him, but I'm going to splash you with some acid so that we have an excuse for Ripley to use her 30 minutes of training on your, Mini 14 made-up grenade launcher thing, and then go down and take on all the aliens, apparently.
Well, that's what I'm saying.
And-
The ending was clumsy, right?
No,
Because-
that showed a mother's instinct.
well, I know, but that's that.
For your children.
But that's Sean's.
She adopted Newt because.
But
her
that's
own
Sean's
child
point. I mean, because
died of old age.
that's just James Cameron time after time after time. He wants this female character to be this great hero in the story.
Right, which
Well,
shows you how ahead of his time he was. If you look.
I give you one story, but when she steps out in that sort of forklift, exoskeleton suit, and tells the queen to back off, you bitch, or whatever the fuck the line was, at that point I'm like, whatever, fights, whatnot.
I don't know what you're
It was
talking about. That
contrived.
Amazing.
I would have
didn't see
thought
it
that
coming.
the
It was
ending.
amazing.
The ending would have been better for that, and I would have bought into it a little bit more if when the queen gets sucked out into space, Ripley goes too. Like the only survivors are the little girl and what's his face?
I'm in
Or even
100%.
better, all
Hold
of them
on.
get sucked
I'm
out
in
into space and
100% of
Bishop
agreement
lives.
with you on the. They both fall into the airlock. She opens it up, and her elbow is supposed to be like enough strength to hold on into an alien in a 3-ton forklift.
Yes,
That was the only thing I actually bought.
And she can then climb out. So I'm with you on that. That part of it was always a little clumsy to me.
The
Right,
tensile
right.
strength of her bones was commensurate to the strength of her heart
Of her
and the
will
love
and her heart
for
yes.
that child.
See, now it makes perfect sense.
she should have gripped onto that thing with her womb. But it's no, but I'm entertained by the second one. I think the first one was most definitely better, right? Because much like I say about the Thing, in the first Alien, right? There's once that alien emerges, you don't feel comfortable in that movie anymore.
Yeah, right.
Yeah,
Yeah. And it was an organic process for how they went through killing each of them and all that. It was really well done. I didn't
but
get
when
that
those-
same
when
feel
those
out of the
colonial
second one. The
space
second one
marines
was
show
like a
up,
shoot 'em up.
I feel comfortable and protected because of how badass those Marines are. I mean,
Yeah.
Drake Frost. I mean, come on,
Friggin', it was like Chuck Norris in space.
even
Come on, man.
Spunkmeyer made me feel safe.
they gotta get.
They
gotta
were
get,
such
gotta work on
consummate
those names.
professionals. They were badass hombres.
who was it?
There's
Who was
certain
it?
names that need to be just retired from Hollywood, you know.
Who came up with the name during Face Off when they were reading off the names of the agents who died? Who came up
Yeah.
with the name Nippleman?
That was
'Cause
me.
That was
Yeah.
amazing.
Yeah, that was
I
me.
use that one to this day when I make up characters for shit. There's always a Nippleman. But
Yeah.
no,
One of
I think
one
the
of my
thing is
favorite memories.
when you saw Predator, when you saw Alien, whenever there's this really ridiculously powered antagonist to the story, instantaneously everybody has to try to figure out, well, how do we nerf that going forward? Because there's got to be a way that humanity wins. And I'm actually more connected to the story where humanity may or may not win. I mean, fuck it, I'm okay with the
Thank
movie
you.
ending with everything
Thank you.
dying.
That's the thing for me. I am so sick of the Star Trek endings, where they win because they're human and humans are strong because we have faults and all that crap.
Don't forget that we love.
Yeah,
And
that's
the
exactly
fifth
right.
element will help us overcome
Yes.
all
Yeah, the
evils
perfect.
that the universe can throw at us.
Yes, the perfect movie. There you go. Yeah, that's my thing. Is that I hate that stuff. Stop it. That's not how the world works.
Right.
That's not
Right,
it.
but again, going back to the I'm going to invest $200 million in the dark ending that Sean likes, that will disappoint all of the other moviegoers.
Oh, except
That's
five
not
moviegoers.
true.
That is what surprised me about what was it, Infinity War. Like I knew they were going to fix it, but
Mhm.
the way it ended, I was on board. I loved that. Like, and people in the theater were like, "What? Oh my god!" Like they were shocked and appalled that it would end that way. Like, and again, I knew they were going to fix it because there was a whole other movie.
Yeah.
Blah blah blah.
Yeah.
But again, them going there for that movie, I was like, oh hell yeah, that was great. So,
But
See, that's
I like
the
that
thing.
movie more.
People will say, and you're right, Kelly, that one was the best one, And Mark, that's what I'm saying. People will tell you they want this, but they don't. They want the other. That's what they actually want. They're afraid of it.
And again,
but they
I think that's
want
one of
that.
the reasons that Reservoir Dogs like stands out to me, because it was always the happy ending, and then this one everyone dies.
Yeah.
Like you like some of these characters and you're rooting for them, and there is no happy ending. Everybody dies, and that was one of those things that really, struck a chord where it was like, wow, okay, good job.
Yeah. Now you can't do every movie like that. Otherwise, it becomes like the happy endings where
Yeah.
you go in and well, everybody's going to die. So why am I going to be here, right?
Yeah.
But
And again,
Rogue-
I think I'd go that with freaking The Thing also. Everybody dies in the end of that too.
Yeah.
Now that I think about it, you don't see it necessarily, but you know it.
And that's why it's that's why it's the cult classic that it is now. And I hate saying cult because it's not like it's a small number. It's a large number of people who
Right.
actually love that movie now because they see that. Rogue One is another example.
Yeah.
You ask people which one was the best since the original trilogy and all that, and they'll say Rogue One. Everybody dies at the end,
Yeah.
So people will say they don't like that kind of ending, but it actually resonates because it feels more real. At least that's my take on it. Is that if it's not, you feel like, oh, excellent, that was a good popcorn movie, and go with the rest of my day. But you forget it, and you forget
Yeah.
it soon after.
And going back to what we were talking about, even like Saving Private Ryan, yes, a few people live through the end of that movie, but a lot of the people you like don't make it to the end of the movie. And there's like
Brutally.
stakes there. You know what I'm saying? Like it almost feels like the lottery of who came
Yeah.
out of that movie alive, and it's the one guy who's a coward, right?
Yeah,
And it's-
that's what
and
I
it's-
was gonna
And
say.
it's the other guy with the BAR, Ryback or whatever. And
Yeah.
you get the feeling that
And
that
Ryan.
guy is just lucky.
Yeah.
Like he's gonna survive the whole thing, no matter how bad the situation is. Like and that's that archetype of this guy's
Right.
trying to cover up his cowardice, and this guy's just got the magic pixie dust, and he's going to be fine throughout the whole war. Everybody else,
But
and again, I don't think Ryan was like lucky or what. Like they went out
Like
of
it's in
way
the
to
title.
put him in a position to live. You know
Yeah.
what I'm saying? Like he was perfectly willing to get into the shit, and
Well, he
probably
was
would have been
also-
killed had they not let
he
him.
was also condemned to live a life of guilt.
Yeah.
Where in the end, you just see that ever since then, he's been carrying the deaths of all those people
Yeah.
because he decided to stay. And if he didn't decide to stay, his buddies would have died and he'd have felt bad about them. So it was just, it's one of those movies that's just, man, that's rough,
Right.
And so to me, it makes it much better storytelling when it's real. You look at any of the mob movies, the good ones, right? The Robert De Niro ones. You look at Goodfellas, The Godfather, stuff like that. Those don't have happy endings,
Right.
but everybody knows they're masterpieces because they got that realism to them.
Yeah.
Aliens just didn't have that for me. Aliens was like, there's cool scenery. It's cool.
Well, I'm not seeing aliens
ones.
because I want this gritty realism. I'm seeing aliens because I want some
Well,
aliens.
but that was the thing. I went there wanting something in the same vein as Alien, and instead I got something that was
That's
like.
where you're wrong.
What was I thinking? The sequel to the original. Can't
No,
be
so because
anything like that.
well, that's the problem with a lot of sequels, and I think one of the only times where the sequel has been better was Empire Strikes Back. Was far and away better than A New Hope, and better than Return of the Jedi. And I think that's the best out of the trilogy. But in most trilogies, second, third, onward are really kind of shit. And I think first Alien is a thriller. Second Aliens was meant to just be an action movie.
Right, that's what I was going to say. They're two separate movies. They're completely separate. They're almost not sequels at all. And they are, I get it, but they're almost not because
The first one
is a horror movie in space.
Yes.
It's a monster. You're trapped in the same room with a monster, or trapped in the monster in the house. They can't get off the spaceship. Monsters are running around. The second one is turn it up to 11 and throw some Marines in. It's a big action, action movie is what it really is. You know what I mean? Yeah, they're both set in that same universe, but they're not the same movie, and I wouldn't call them a direct sequel either, even though they are. You know what I mean?
That's the worst military ever. I hate
They're
James
the best
Cameron
military ever.
It's
They're
like
so
he sent in
cool.
the Gungans to go fight the aliens. That was awful.
Yeah.
Awful.
No, they were
And
great.
they're
They
sitting there
had
talking about
two drop
they're sitting there
ships. They had a big ass tank that Ripley broke the transaxle on. That was her fault.
Yeah, she's just grinding metal. It's
I know.
we don't know why it's moving forward, but she's just grinding
Why
metal.
are they letting her drive it? I mean, that
you
was a
got
problem.
you got the rookie lieutenant. You're sending him into a nuclear facility.
All
with
lieutenants are rookies. Everybody knows.
apparently no forethought.
There's
to
no
where he's
grizzled
going.
lieutenants.
Let's give him the most armor
That's
piercing stuff
20
we can.
that 20-year veteran lieutenant.
The entire colony has gone dark, and we're going to send like 15 guys.
It could have been a broken transmitter. They don't know. They got to go check.
They couldn't figure out how to fix
Like
that.
the lights are on. What could be wrong?
And let's be honest, the real villain in Aliens was, of course, the trade dispute. So
Still,
the
yeah.
cost of that ship, that carried a significant sum. And I don't think we explored the real ramifications of
They can.
But then-
their actions.
But then, Sean, I think that they returned back to sort of the feel of the first one when they did that third one on the prison.
Well, they did,
colony.
but nobody.
But everybody hated it. Yeah.
That's because
Yeah.
you took away our happy ending and you killed off the two of the characters. Well, one of the characters we liked so much, which was,
Yeah.
of course, Newt. I mean, Reese.
See, in that third one,
That
they
tour de
gave us
force.
the ending. In
Yeah.
the third one, they gave us the ending you were talking about, Kelly.
Yeah.
Where she goes into, essentially goes out the hatch. In this one, she goes into the molten metal and dies. And I liked the dynamic there. I really did. I liked that. But
What a painful way to
nobody
go.
else did.
I know. So slight segue, but I did this little comic book show where I was selling nerdy T-shirts up in Maine near my sister's house a few years ago, and I'm set up here, and right next to us is this girl who she's selling, like, she made homemade candles and knickknacks and crafty type stuff,
Dream catchers.
yeah, stuff like that. And I'm looking at her, and her hair's all ratty, and she looks like she was living in her car or something. I'm literally like, Is this girl like living in her car in the parking lot and doing this to make some money or whatever? And it wasn't like halfway through the weekend when I saw her with a stuffed animal version of the face hugger, and she was dressed as Newt. And I didn't realize it went from who's this sketchy looking girl to, oh my god, that's the best costume I've seen all weekend. And I was like, because she's holding it up, taking a picture with somebody, like, oh no, this alien's got me. And I was like, this freaking Newt, man, it was awesome. Spunkmeyer was there too. It was great.
Did you ask her if she was going to
Spunkmeyer
follow
was
that
there
up with
too.
the?
No, there was a guy dressed up as Spunkmeyer.
That's
Did you
badass.
ask her if she was going to do a follow up to that next time as Newt from the third movie?
I did not. I got a picture somewhere, but I was just like all weekend. I was like, oh, is this going on
People
with
just
this
wheeling
girl?
her around in like an iron lung with a piece of glass in her chest or something.
Yeah.
I did like Prometheus. I like Prometheus
Mm,
I didn't see that one.
because I liked the tone of it. Was it as good as the
Oh.
others? No, but I liked the tone of it. The tone felt more like the first one.
yeah.
You know?
All right, I'll give you that.
And so,
None of those
and-
later ones were really hitting on all cylinders. But
Mm-mm.
No, they
you're
weren't,
right. Some
but-
of the tone was pretty good.
Yeah, and I like the engineers.
Mhm.
I like that. That actually gave me a lot of hope for someday doing Astartes.
Yeah, and Fassbender is a great actor. You know, what
He
I
is
mean?
amazing.
Michael Fassbender is just amazing. So.
He is one of my
I agree.
favorites. Him,
Mhm.
Kurt Russell. Who else would you put in there? Who else would you put in there as go-tos? Robert De Niro. I was just thinking of this the other day. Who would you put in there? Your favorite actors?
Oh God. And again, of course, I'm drawing a blank on his name.
Morgan Freeman,
Who played Zorg on whatever, and he's played all those other roles. He was the bad guy in
Zorg.
from Fifth Element.
Gary Oldman.
Gary Oldman. That's
Gary
it. Yeah,
Oldman's very
like
good.
Gary Oldman. Anything he's in, I'm just like, and he's not necessarily the star of everything that he's
No,
in. You
and
know what I'm
that's the
saying?
beauty of his
It's-
skill.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's always the supporting character, but he always is amazing in
Yeah,
whatever
he
he
brings it.
does.
Yeah.
Yeah, and who else? Well, favorites. Who would I put out in there as a favorite as well? Um,
Any cinema
oh,
genre or what?
John Lithgow and
Yeah, Lithgow.
Jeff Bridges.
Mm-hmm.
And have you watched The Old Man, Kelly?
I'm kind of about 2/3 of the way through episode 1.
What do you think of that so far?
So far, it's capturing my attention, and I'm kind of interested to see where it goes. I get oddly hung up on various points, like when I don't know if it's I don't understand quite the whole thing with the old woman who I guess was his wife, right? Who's in the bathroom, but there's one of those scenes where the water's pouring out on the floor, and he's doing this whole, he's trying to take care of her. He's like, "I'm going to go put you into bed," and I get hung up on the idea that you guys are just walking through water. You're going to make the floor wet in the room. Like, fuck, do something.
Turn the water off. Put
Right.
some towels down. Come on.
And then, hang on, I made a note about it. And then there's the one where there's
Kelly's caring heart stops at the wet floor.
Wait, dude, you have to know. Like, my whole family's petrified of spilling anything because of how I get about the floors. And then there's the whole bit with the assassin guy, I guess, who was coming in, and the dog knocked him down, which I thought was awesome. But then when he takes the guy's hand and picks up the pistol and fires twice into the wall, I'm just thinking, well, that's really not going to. I mean, you'll fire the two shots, but it's not going to work.
And there's stuff like that in there that you just got to let go.
Yeah.
This is not one that you're going to watch for technical accuracy. This is one you're going to watch for the actors and the intrigue and the plot line. The technical stuff, no. Like stuff in there, you're just going to be like,
Lou got me into watching Criminal Minds, right? Which she's been trying for a long time to get me to watch this bloody show about profilers. And I was like, Lou, I don't want to watch this. It's going to piss me off. But we ran out of other shit to watch, so we started watching that. And so it's just me sitting here for however long that episode is and just bitching and moaning. The old man, though, has more compelling storyline to it that I'm kind of interested to see what happens next.
Yeah, I like that one. And if you're looking, and I'm surprised you did that. You ran out of things to watch and you didn't go watch Boba Fett?
No.
Oh, man. Yeah, sometime, we'll have to come up with movies that we really like that are not well known, like Joe versus the Volcano.
Yeah, I don't know a lot of people that talk about Joe versus the Volcano, but I'm not kidding. It is number 1 on my list.
Okay.
I love that
Kelly,
movie.
have you seen that Mindhunter show on Netflix?
Yes, I did. I watched the whole thing.
Yeah, okay.
Because they only went through the 2 seasons.
Uh-huh.
And I thought that was awesome because it's just a little side hobby of mine to just learn about serial killers. But the whole bit that they had with
like
Edmund,
you do.
Yeah. No, so I mean the whole bit that they had with Edmund Kemper is just phenomenal. The guy they got to play that character was phenomenal. The way they played out those conversations, because you can go back and watch the actual interviews that the initial profilers, whose names escape me at the moment, that they actually sat down and did with Edmund Kemper, and I mean it's almost spot on. It's really well done.
Yeah, because I always thought the guy looked weird. I was like, okay, why did they make that choice? And then you see the pictures of what the actual guy looked like, and you're like, oh, that's why they made that choice. Okay.
Yeah.
That guy looks weird. I got to ask God why he made that choice.
But what's interesting about Edmund Kemper, I mean, this gets off on a tangent a little bit, but what was interesting about after he was done with the killings, because his final killing was to kill his mom and then her best friend. And then he got in a car and he took off. And he thought the cops were going to be hot on his trail. And then he found out as he's running from the police, they weren't even looking for him. They didn't care. They were, and so he gets to Pueblo, Colorado, and he calls the police and he turns himself in, and they didn't believe him. So he had to call back. And then they had a detective go out there, pick him up, and drive him back to California. And the detective said the entire way Kemper wouldn't shut up. He just talked about everything. He wouldn't shut up. And I just think that's interesting about some of those characters. But Mindhunter was fantastic. I'm disappointed that they canceled that show. Netflix canceled it.
Oh, did they cancel it? Okay.
They did.
I'm sitting here patiently waiting for the next season.
Yeah, so you get to the 2 seasons, and that's it, right?
They killed it.
Yeah. But I saw something somewhere about the guy who had worked on creating the show was thinking or hopeful that there would be some place that would pick up
Yeah,
allowed
that's
to
the
do
cool
it.
thing in today's landscape that, if somebody makes a dumb choice and cancels it, it can get picked up elsewhere.
Yeah,
Mm,
and
I
that's
don't know. I
And
think that's
happen.
going to get tougher now.
It might, but I mean, it couldn't even happen before. Now
Yeah.
it's happened a couple of times. Like, I think The Expanse happened. Didn't that get canceled and it got picked up by Amazon to finish out or something? Like, there's a couple of shows that have kind of found a new home.
yeah.
Don't you think that most of them, though, should probably go the British route of having a definitive arc and having less shows but with a better written story, maybe?
No, you can't do that because the content model dictates that as long as it's making money, you keep making more. And if you paint yourself into a corner and you're like, no, we're going to end right here, you're leaving money on the table, and people like money. So why would we do that? You're
This
dumb,
is
Sean.
why.
Right.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah. This is why Hollywood sucks. Oh, well.
It really does. I don't think it tells the stories that are really truly compelling and interesting stories a lot of the time. I mean, I think it's hit or miss where you watch that thing and you're like, wow, that's phenomenal. Right? It's my bit about this. There's movies and there's films, and I get really excited when I see something I
Right.
can
I was
consider a
literally
film.
just thinking about that. So one of my favorite movies is Bowfinger, which has
I like Bowfinger a lot.
yeah, Bowfinger's great. And at one point, Eddie Murphy's character is like, he's like, we're making movies, not films. That always
Right.
struck with me because he's, they're just making movies, not films. And I was like, yeah, that, and for a comedy to make that boy was just really funny. That is a great movie. I love Bowfinger.
That would
That's
be
one of my favorites.
Who would be the actor? I would probably put Sam Jackson in that category where he will make either. That man.
He's capable of making either. Some people
Right.
aren't capable of making films.
Yeah.
They're just actors. You know what I mean? And
Yeah.
whatever. Well, that's mean. I don't want to put it that way.
No,
You
but
gotta
it's
have,
true
you
though.
gotta have everything come together. Well, I'm saying like people who can act, and again, it's one of those things you can't quite put your finger on it. But some people can act, and some people can act. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
a lot of
Anthony
comedians
Hopkins.
who end up acting. I've been watching Fargo, the TV series, and the next season has Chris Rock in it. And I'm like, oh, okay. And I was, like he's a comedian who has found his way into the world of acting, and he's fine. Like I have no issues with Chris Rock as an actor in the few things that I've seen him in. Like he's fine, but I don't know that he's ever had a role that's like, holy shit, this guy can act. You
Right.
know what I mean? Like, and sometimes you get that out of somebody, and you're like, wow, okay. God, who was I?
Robin
thinking of?
Williams was like that. Robin Williams.
Yeah.
was-
Yeah. He really went from here's this funny guy and Good Morning Vietnam and that kind of
Well,
thing.
Mork. Think about that.
Yeah, I
He
know,
went
but
from Mork.
but he switched over to movies, and it was
Yeah.
the same. Mork was basically Good Morning Vietnam. He's doing his shtick on the radio or whatever, and Mrs. Doubtfire and things like that. But then you get Good Will Hunting and some of these other
World
movies.
According to Garp and stuff
Mhm.
like that. Yeah.
Yeah. And again, so I don't want to say that comedians can't act. Like some of them really can. I mean, look at Bryan Cranston, right? You
Yeah.
look at him as this funny guy from I forget the name of the show that he
Malcolm in the Middle.
Malcolm in the Middle. He was most known for.
Seinfeld.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then you put him into like this amazing ensemble cast and these amazing scripts and this amazing cinematography, and he he holds up his end, and magic was made.
Yeah. Yeah, he does. Yeah, there are certain ones who are just really good. Anthony Hopkins and Ian McClellan and
Like I said, Fassbender. Like I could listen to that guy read the phone book.
yeah, Fassbender is amazing. Ewan McGregor's a great actor.
Kenneth Branagh is very good.
I don't know him. Kenneth Branagh, what's he from?
I mean, did Hamlet? He was in the. He's in the.
Mel Gibson did Hamlet. Give me something good.
Kenneth Branagh was better. Hang on a minute.
I like that. Anytime someone brings that up.
He was in
Mel
Murder on the
Gibson
Orient
did Hamlet.
Express.
Come on. He was what?
Murder on the Orient Express. He did that one.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Yeah.
He's been in a lot of stuff.
I think Leonardo DiCaprio is a really good actor.
Yeah, Leo DiCaprio
You know what I mean?
is
Finally.
a great example.
Yeah, exactly. Like some of the early stuff, you're like, yeah, he's fine, whatever, but he's delivered. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
You're like, yeah, this guy can act. I mean,
The Wolf of
Oliver Act,
Wall
I
Street
can do.
was amazing. That was a good
Yeah.
movie. Yeah.
Oh, Brad Pitt. I like him too. 12 Monkeys. He was
Yeah.
awesome in that.
He wasn't, and then he hooked up with
Yeah,
Angelina Jolie and went off the rails.
no, I think Brad Pitt is a great actor
I do.
despite
Yeah.
his good looks. Like in a lot of cases, he's gotten his roles because of his good looks.
Mhm.
I think, as a matter of fact, his
But
career has
despite
been
that,
hampered
he's
because
really
of that.
delivering. Yeah, that's what I mean. Is he's a really and maybe some of that is like, okay, I'm trading on my looks, but I got to deliver something. But like I say, he is a really good actor. And I'll go with Fight Club and some of the other ones where you're like, yeah,
Fight Club is great.
right,
Yeah.
yeah. Edward Norton's another really good one. He's not trading on his
He
looks,
is, but
he's a great actor.
the odd thing about that is that you look at like Fight Club, and Brad Pitt's the one who actually, I think, gives the better performance.
I'll give you that. Yeah. But I think part of that is the role also, like the script
I
and the
agree.
role given. But yeah, I mean, they're both good, but I'm with you. Like I say, that one put Brad Pitt on the map as not such a pretty face.
Yeah,
Mhm.
in spite of his face. And I think that was the thing. I don't think he ever wanted to do, because he never really did, like the romantic comedy. He could have gone that route,
Yeah.
and he never did.
Mark Ruffalo, the Hulk, that's what he's most known for, is doing all those like rom-com movies and stuff. So
Yeah. Oh, and Oscar Isaac.
Mhm.
He. You may not like some of the projects, but you look at like Ex Machina. You look at Drive. He was in that. You look at Dune, and Moon Knight and all that stuff. He's got a wide range of characters he's played, and I think that's amazing.
Moon Knight was pretty crappy, but that wasn't his fault. He delivered. He did a great job acting the different roles. So like,
and you think about that episode with him dealing with the multiple personality part. I mean, really dealing with it and his history and all that. That was acted beautifully. I loved that episode. I wish the rest of the series could have lived up to that, but I loved that episode. And De Niro, the reason I bring him up is, of course, he would have to be right up at the top of the list with Brando and what's his name from Marathon Man, the villain from Marathon Man. Oh, I can't remember his name. Best actor of all time, really. But the reason I put De Niro up with them is because not only have you seen him in The Godfather and Goodfellas and all those, Casino and all that stuff, but I don't know if either of you have seen Awakenings.
Yeah. Laurence Olivier is what you're thinking about.
Yes, thank you very much. But if you've seen him in Awakenings, where he played with Robin Williams, amazing performance. I loved his performance in there, both physical and emotional, because he had to play, of course, the part of having the palsy coming back and all that and dealing with that. Heartbreaking movie, but it was really, really well done and based on a true story.
Okay.
So.
All right. Well, we've been going for a long time. I'm really glad I'm still recording this. This is going to be published at some. I would like to point out that last week I came across a new podcast by Quentin Tarantino and another guy that works with Quentin Tarantino. They both worked at the Video Archives video store in Manhattan Beach, and when that store went out of business, Quentin Tarantino bought the whole video collection library. And so what they're doing on the podcast is picking movies from the collection and like talking about them and whatnot. And so I think it's called the Video Archives podcast with Quentin Tarantino, and it just hit last week. So there's only like one episode out or whatever. But like I say, if you want to get a deep dive into kind of his thought process on some of the movies, or just and they go into some wacky stuff like who the video producer was and the content and how it got put out and how the movie was made and how much it cost and who was the director and who worked on it. And, it's Quentin Tarantino. So you get into the weeds on a lot of that stuff. So I thought that was really kind of like interesting to me. So I listened to that the other day. I think new episodes come out on Tuesdays or something.
Okay.
But I would say throw that on the list. There's not a whole lot of people I would definitely recommend, but to listen to Quentin Tarantino geek out with a fellow, I forget the other person's name who's on it with him, but he was a guy that worked at the store also.
I got a beef with Quentin Tarantino now.
How so?
Because of the whole thing with Bruce Lee, his disrespect for him And
You make it sound like it was disrespect. It wasn't. It was
It was.
homage. It was homage.
no, it was going to be disrespect. Brad Pitt and the stunt coordinator forced him to change the script so that it became what you saw in the movie. They actually told him, no, I'm not shooting that. And he had to write it differently.
I'm unaware of all of this.
Yeah,
have to go
it's
look
from
it up.
Once Upon a Time in
Have you seen
Hollywood.
Once Upon a Time in Hollywood?
Nope.
Okay, Run, Don't Walk.
I get tired of the recycling of the title. Once upon a time in Enter thing here, right? And it's just like, whatever.
Yeah.
Okay,
So,
I
I'm
saw
sorry
Once Upon a
I'm
Time in
sorry that
China
the
and it was
title
good.
has turned you off.
so anyway, all right. So
Anyway,
thank you
despite
guys.
your
Thank you very
misgivings,
much.
they're all worth checking out. So we'll
All
do
right.
this again soon. I'm going to get these all edited and published, and a good
Okay.
time will be had by all.
All right.
Thank you guys.
All right,
Yep.
bye.
Talk to you all
See
later. Bye.
next time.
This concludes our Speak Nerd and Enter broadcast.